Youth.
Youth. Right. Just want to begin with the youth.
Yeah.
You have more experience with the youth as well.
When I think of young people, I think of the place where I started, kind of was leaving school and not being able to fit into society and kind of struggling with my own mental health and things like that. So and that all developed when I was a young person.
Yeah.
So I would say that made me reflect then that whole period in my life where I was kind of like just able to understand what was happening, and it took me time, and then I realised then that I liked doing youth work, and so I was able to venture into that space, luckily through the connections that I'd built up. That'd be my whole first story on youth.
Yeah, it'd be similar to myself. Like, I would have never thought of youth before meeting Christy, you know. I would have never thought of youth. I would have just thought youth was young people. I never would have thought how the word youth can branch off into positive, negatives, youth work, youth justice. Like, it was mad. And like, still looking at myself as a youth, I've seen what damage the world can have on youths, and kind of seeing myself, right, I'm a youth, I understand different bits and pieces more than some of the, say, caring roles in our community that they were supposed to be, where you could see they weren't clued in at all. And I said to myself, after experiencing a bit of youth work myself, I said, right, it's kind of the job for me, being a youth, helping the youth, it stuck with me that little bit more.
I'd say another thing what gets me is how people portray the word youth.
The word youth, yeah, it's always the negative.
Yeah, it seems to be falling into a very negative word, rather than, even as a youth worker, like you talk about us referring it to as young people rather than youths.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a stigma around that word.
It always has been.
Journalists and newspapers and different social media platforms referring youths as...
It's always, the youth hang around the shops, the youth hang around the parks, yeah.
The youths are always, hanging around places. But I think it kind of needs to be turned into a more positive thing in terms of youths helping people out, youths, do you know what I mean?
It's like it's the positive connotations like we have of it. So we're youth workers,
100%.
youth work, youth centres.
100%.
In contrast to the way the media portrays it, it's crazy how such a word as well, youths, can have so many impacts on, say, a lot of us, or the way we think of youth just from being in college and doing a bit of youth work ourselves, compared to the way maybe the older generation think of youths, but it's all due to the media and how it portray it.
It'd be interesting, I think, to ask maybe the younger generation below us what they think of youth, the word youth, what that means to them.
The Bosco 3 Minute Conversation.